My uncle has this cabin out in the Oregon Coast Range. Not some fancy place, just a one-room deal with a wood stove, 2 windows, and a loft bed that creaks every time you move. He uses it for hunting mostly, but he said I could have it for a few days in January. I was going through some stuff at the time, needed to be away from everything. I drove up on a Friday. The road going in hadn't been plowed recently, so there was already like 4 or 5 inches of snow packed on it. I had a Tacoma, so it was fine, but I remember thinking, okay, if it snows heavy, you're not going anywhere for a bit. I was okay with that. That was kind of the point. First day was fine. I had groceries, frozen chili, bread, some instant coffee. I got a fire going, read for a bit, slept early, nothing weird. The snow kept coming down through the night. Second morning I woke up early, maybe 6:30, still dark. I wasn't trying to go anywhere, just wanted to check how much it'd come down overnight. I opened the front door and stepped out onto the small porch. There were footprints in the snow. Not mine. Mine were still there from the night before, partially filled in from the overnight snow. These were newer, fresher. They came from the tree line on the left side of the cabin, went along the front, and then went back the same direction. Someone had walked the perimeter, or at least part of it. I stood there for a second, just kind of looking at them. My first thought was deer, but they weren't deer prints. They were boot prints. I know the difference. I went back inside. I didn't do much that day. Kept the stove going, kept the door locked. I told myself it was probably a hunter, maybe someone who knew the area and didn't realize anybody was using the cabin. That made sense. That's what I kept going back to. That night was when it changed. I was in the loft, probably around 11 or so, not asleep yet. It was quiet outside, that specific kind of quiet you only get when there's a lot of snow on the ground and no wind. And then I heard it, a sound at the window. The window beside the door, the one that faces the tree line. At first, I thought it was a branch, a slow scraping sound, like something dragging across the glass. Then it stopped. Then it started again, slower this time. Then it changed. It became more like tapping, but not knocking. More like something pressing against the glass repeatedly. Soft, deliberate. I didn't move. I don't know how long I laid there. 20 minutes maybe? Then it stopped. I didn't sleep much after that. Third morning, I'd already basically decided I was leaving. I was just packing up, trying to do it calmly, not freak myself out more than I already had. I went outside to load something into the truck. That's when I saw the figure. At the edge of the tree line, maybe 60, 70 yards out, just standing there. I couldn't make out a face or anything specific, just a person standing still, looking in my direction. I froze for a second. Then I called out, said, "Hey," something like, "Who's out there?" Nothing. The figure didn't move. I don't know why I said what I said next. I wasn't thinking straight. I told him I had a rifle. I don't own a rifle. My uncle's was locked in a case inside and I didn't have the key. I just said it. The figure just stood there. Didn't move, didn't respond. Just stood there in the tree line looking at me. I stared back for what felt like a long time, maybe 5 minutes. Then it turned and walked back into the trees. No rushing, just walking. I went inside, grabbed my bag, didn't finish packing properly, just threw stuff in and left.
drove down that icy road faster than I should have. I haven't told my uncle about it. I don't really know what I'd say. The thing that stays with me isn't the figure, honestly. It's the window. Because the cabin is elevated on the porch side. To reach that window and press on it like that, whatever was out there wasn't just passing through. It was standing there for a while.
I've never told this story publicly before. I'm gonna keep my name out of it. Not because I'm ashamed of what happened. I was a child. There was nothing I could have done. But because this involves a family that lost someone, and I have no right to make their grief into something with my name attached to it. I'll just say I'm in my late 40s now, and I've carried this since I was 7 years old. I was 7, maybe 8 years old. My family used to go to this place in South Georgia during the summers. It wasn't a real beach, it was a man-made lake. Some guy dug out a big pond, dumped a load of beach sand around the edges, stuck some palm trees in the ground, and started charging admission. People would pull up, park, set up their grills, let their kids swim. It was that kind of place, unofficial, a little rough around the edges. They had a swatter slide that nobody should have been allowed on, but kids rode it anyway and got hurt and came back the next weekend. We always parked in the same spot, right in front of this little island. It wasn't much, just a clump of sand, maybe 30 yards off the shoreline. The water between the shore and the island came up just above my head at the deepest point, so I'd bounce out, push off the bottom, come up for air, push off again. I wasn't the strongest swimmer, but I could make it to that island that way. I'd done it plenty of times. One afternoon, I was bouncing out toward it. Just another regular day. Sun out, people grilling, the usual noise of a crowded summer spot. My foot came down, and I felt a face. I know that sounds like something I'm exaggerating looking back, but I'm not. I was a kid, and I knew immediately what I had touched, the bridge of a nose under my toe. And then as I pushed off, I felt it, fine hair waving in the water between my toes as I kicked up. I made it to the island and sat down and didn't move for a long time. I was 7 or 8 years old. I didn't process it the way an adult would. I just sat there on that little clump of sand and stared at the water and didn't go back in. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't know what I would have said. I barely knew what I had felt. I just knew I wasn't going back in that water. At some point I heard it, a parent's voice cutting through all the noise of the park, calling a name, then another voice picking it up, and then more. The kind of calling out that starts as concern and shifts into something else within minutes. The whole energy of the place changed. People standing up from their lawn chairs, conversation stopping, everyone looking around. They were looking for a little boy. I sat on that island and listened to him calling his name, and I still didn't say anything. I was a child. I didn't connect what my foot had felt to what was happening on the shore. Or maybe some part of me did and just couldn't hold it. They pulled his body out of the water right in front of that island. I watched it happen from where I was sitting. I don't remember much about what came after. I remember my parents getting me, the drive home, none of the details, just the image of them pulling him out and the sound of his parents and the way everything went quiet in that park the way it does when something happens that can't be undone. I'm in my late 40s now. I've never forgotten that day. Not the water slide, not the palm trees, not the sound of his name being called across that water. What I remember most is the hair. That specific feeling of fine hair waving between my toes in the water. A sensation I felt once for less than a second and have carried every day since. I stepped on him. I don't say that looking for sympathy. I say it because it's true, and because I've never said it out loud to anyone, and because some things don't get lighter no matter how many years you put between yourself and them. I just didn't know what I was feeling. I wish I had. I've been running at 4 a.m. for years. I know that sounds weird to most people, but that hour is just mine. No cars, no people, nothing. Just me and the road. I've done it through rain, cold, whatever. It just clears my head. This particular morning was winter. I don't remember the exact date, but I remember the cold was bad, like the kind that hits you before you even open the door. I laced up anyway and headed out. I run the same route most days, through the neighborhood, up the main road, over the flyover, then back. I know every part of it. Done it so many times I don't even think about it anymore. I got to the top of the flyover and stopped to drink some water like I always do. You can see a good stretch of road from up there, both directions, usually empty. Always empty at that hour. That's when I saw a girl standing in the middle of the road below the flyover. Long hair, white clothes, just standing there. Then she started dancing, like she was responding to something I couldn't hear. She didn't look like she had any earphones in. I just stood there for a second. Honestly, I didn't know what I was looking at. My first thought was maybe she needed help. My second thought came pretty quick after that, and it was just, something is wrong here and I don't need to figure out what. I turned around and went back. Didn't run at first, just walked fast. I took the road underneath the flyover instead of going back the long way. Told myself it was quicker. It's darker under there. Longer gaps between the lights. I picked up my pace. And then I got that feeling. You know the one? There's something behind you, just feels different. I've had it maybe twice before in my life, and both times something was actually there. I looked back. It was her. She was far back, maybe 60 yards, but she was running and screaming. Not words, just this raw sound coming out of her. The echo under that flyover made it worse. I could hear her footsteps getting closer. Her screaming bounced off the concrete, and suddenly, I couldn't tell how far back she actually was. I just ran. I don't even remember deciding to. My body just went. I got home, got inside, locked the door, stood in the hallway breathing hard, looked out the window. Street was empty. Morning was just starting to come up. I never went back to that route. People ask me what I think she was. Honestly, I don't have a good answer. Maybe she was sick. Maybe she was on something. I've gone back and forth on it. But here's the thing. The road under that flyover only goes one direction from where I was standing. There's no shortcut, no cut-through, no way to get from the top of that flyover to the road underneath it that fast. I've walked it since, in daylight, multiple times. The math just doesn't work. I don't talk about that part much because as long as I don't say it out loud, I can still find a way to explain it. But I saw what I saw. I still don't know what was on that road that morning. And honestly, I stopped trying to figure it out. I worked the front desk at a motel in Nevada for about 2 years. Night shifts mostly. You see all kinds of people come through doing that job. Truckers, families on road trips, couples, the occasional person who just needs somewhere to be for a few hours. After a while, you get pretty good at reading people fast. You have to. This particular night was slow. Midweek, not many cars in the lot. Around 9 or so, this older man walked in. I'd put him in his late 60s, maybe early 70s. He had this whole look about him. Briefcase, slacks, collared shirt, like someone had pulled him straight out of a 1980s detective movie, the kind of guy who still carries business cards. He checked in without any issues, friendly, made small talk, asked how my night was going, told me I had a lovely smile. I get that sometimes, working a front desk. It didn't register as anything unusual. He seemed like a harmless old man. I grabbed his key and offered to show him to his room since it was quiet and I had nothing else going on. We walked over, he thanked me. I turned to head back, and that's when I noticed the briefcase more closely. Something about it felt off in a way I couldn't explain. Just one of those details you clock and then forget about. I went back to the desk.
Maybe 10 minutes later, the phone rang. It was him. He needed water. Simple enough. I grabbed a couple bottles and walked over. When I handed them to him, he smiled. Not a regular smile, something slower than that. He thanked me and then just started asking questions. Did I enjoy working here? How long had I been doing this? Did I live nearby? Each question came out casual and conversational, but something about the timing felt deliberate, like he already knew what he wanted to say and was just working up to it. Then he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a chain, some kind of necklace, held it out and said it was a gift for me. I told him I couldn't accept that. He reached out and took my hand and placed it in my palm anyway. I left as quickly as I could without making it a whole thing, got back to the desk and just stood there for a second, told myself it was just a lonely old man being overly friendly, tried to move on. Then the phone rang again. I should have let it go to the automated system. I didn't. He asked if I could come sit with him for a bit. Said he just wanted some company. I don't know why I went. I think part of me felt sorry for him. He seemed lonely, and I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I went over and sat in a chair across from him. He started talking about his life, things I half listened to, stories I don't fully remember now. At some point, he mentioned his daughters, said they'd stopped texting him, stopped reaching out. He said it in this flat way, like he'd accepted it a long time ago. I remember feeling a small pang of sympathy for him in that moment. That's when he put his hand on my lap. Lightly at first, the way you might touch someone's arm during a conversation. I started to tell myself it was just an old man being familiar. I started to stand up. His grip tightened. Not aggressive, not violent, but firm, deliberate. The kind of grip that tells you the person has made a decision. I knew immediately what was happening, and I knew I needed to get out of that room. He leaned toward me. I pushed him back and stood up fast. He immediately started apologizing. His whole demeanor changed. He was crying, saying he didn't know what came over him, that he was sorry, that he wasn't that kind of person. I didn't say anything. I walked out of that room and went straight to my boss. I told him everything. He told me to wait. About 10 minutes later, I watched the old man come out of his room, briefcase in hand. He walked across the parking lot toward his car. He didn't look toward the desk, didn't look at me, didn't say a word to anyone. Just got in his car and drove away into the dark. I threw his card in the trash that same night. I still think about the way he just left like that. No confrontation, no scene, just gone. Like checking out early at 2 in the morning after what just happened was the most normal thing in the world. I don't know what he was actually planning. I don't know what was in that briefcase. I don't know if the farm was real or the job offer or any of it. What I know is that grip, the way it went from light to tight in less than a second, that was an impulse. That was someone who had done that before and knew exactly when to do it. I quit that job 3 months later, not because of him specifically, but after that night, something about standing behind that desk alone at night just never felt the same again.